Hi, church family. Ashley Gwynn Taylor here, the Director of Connections, continuing us in our exploration of the Psalms. Here we are, day 139. So we're going to take a look at Psalm 139. Psalm 139 is one of the more well-known and well-beloved Psalms, and for good reason. This Psalm speaks to the pervasive presence of God and his intimate knowledge of us, which offers us an unimaginable measure of hope and comfort in the face of adversity and trial. Let's take a look together. Psalm 139. Search me, O God, and know my heart. To the choir master, a psalm of David. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your books were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake, and I am still with you. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God! O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you with malicious intent. Your enemies take your name in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there by any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Okay, friends, let's go back up to the top and take a look. This psalm can be divided into 4 parts, 4 strophes. The first 3 strophes praise God for his comprehensive knowledge of the psalmist, the fullness of God's presence in the world, and his power as a creator. Let's start by diving into the first one, verses 1 through 6. As we work through the whole psalm, we will build up a firm foundation of great hope and comfort out of being known by a very present God and creator. The first 6 verses capture the fullness of God's knowledge of the psalmist, and in turn of us also. Within these verses, the totality of God's intimacy with us is communicated by pairs of imagery that are expansive opposites. See it here? Within the concept of a physical action, we see sitting down and rising up. Then, within a concept of activity, there's a mention of a path, which we can understand as going forward, being contrasted to the idea of lying down. And then lastly, within a concept of time, there's a reference to being both behind and before. One commentator summed up this section, sharing, "These opposites help reveal the depth of God's knowledge in a way that's both intimately personal, yet cosmically kingly. His knowledge of us, even deep into our thoughts, can move us to a place of truly acknowledging God's literal awesomeness." Let's take a look at the next strophe. In verses 7 through 12, the psalmist continues the theme of God's presence. Where shall I go from your spirit? Where shall I flee from your presence. We have to ask ourselves, does the psalmist see God's presence as a blessing or a curse? Does he feel supported or trapped? Commentaries on this text are divided on the issue. Surely there are times when we too would be embarrassed to think of God watching our every move. We're all sinners. That includes the psalmist here. But verses 9 through 12 suggest that the psalmist finds God's presence comforting, not threatening. And we can all take a cue from the psalmist here. The reassurance that he's building throughout is only strengthened in verses 11 and 12. Light and darkness are used in both the Old and New Testament as metaphors for many things, including good and evil, security and danger, joy and sorrow, life and death. We find darkness frightening, but the psalmist expresses his faith that in the presence of God there is no night, no darkness. Night is as bright as the day. God's presence brings light into dark places, so we need not fear when he's with us, as he always is. As we jump down to the end of the psalm, I want to take a challenge to us for later today. Take some time and dig deeper into the third strophe on your own, verses 13 through 18. Explore how the psalmist's praise of God, specifically as our Creator, can continue to build the posture of comfort and rest in all circumstances. Okay, down to the last section. The final strophe, verses 19 through 24, might shift in tone, but represent the honest expression of the psalmist's heart. If we were wholly honest, we would have to admit that we harbor similar feelings sometimes, noting the slay the wicked. And perhaps not just occasionally. When we feel this way, we would do well to do what the psalmist has done here, which is to address our concerns to God in prayer and cry out to be known and led by the Lord. This psalm confesses both God's constant presence with us, as well as his comprehensive knowledge of us. Friends, we can find great comfort in this. The God who has known us from our very beginning is the God who is with us always. He has seen our comings and goings, our faithfulness and our faithlessness, yet he has remained present with us. Because God has known us, fully knows us, we can trust in him and find comfort even when the world goes awry.